We are absolutely surrounded by art. It's in museums, sure, but it's also on city streets. It's in the design of things we use every day. It's all over our phones. We kind of just know it when we see it. But have you ever stopped to ask a really basic question? What is art actually for? It seems so simple, right? But trust me, that one little question has been debated by some of the smartest people in history for centuries. And as we're about to see, the answer is twisted and turned in some truly surprising and, honestly, kind of shocking ways.
If you asked most people on the street, this is probably the answer you'd get. Art is about beauty. Its whole job is just to be pleasing to look at, to give us a moment of, wow, that's nice, pure and simple.
But then, what about all the art out there that isn't just pretty? Maybe its purpose is something else, something deeper. Maybe it's a way for an artist to just let loose, to get some overwhelming emotion out that, words just can't touch.
Okay, but what if art's job isn't to make us feel good at all? What if its purpose is to be provocative? To take everything we think we know, all our traditions and comfortable ideas, and just flip the whole table over?
Let's start with that first idea, the one we all kind of get, beauty. For a really, really long time, this was it. This was art's one and only job description. So the official term for this is the aesthetic function. It all comes from this philosophy of art for art's sake. The whole idea is that a piece of art doesn't need a point or a message or a moral. Its only job is to be beautiful, to wake up our senses, and as one writer so perfectly put it, to lift us above the steam of life.
And then, just when everyone was nice and comfortable with that idea, the year 1917 happens, and this shows up, and someone calls it art. It's not a beautiful painting, it's not a heroic sculpture, it's a urinal.
Yep. The artist, a guy named Marcel Duchamp, was part of this wild movement called Dadaism. These artists basically thought the world had gone completely insane, so why should art make sense? He submitted this piece, which he called Fountain, to an art show. Now, surprise, surprise, they rejected it. But with that one gesture, he completely blew up the definition of what art could even be. Now, this wasn't just some big prank. You have to remember, this is happening during World War I. The Dadaists looked around and saw a world that treasured pretty objects in museums, but was totally fine with the mechanized slaughter of millions of people. Fountain was their response. They were arguing that art isn't about the object, it's about the idea. And sometimes, the most beautiful thing you can create is a challenge.
So, art can challenge our brains, but it can also punch us right in the heart. And that brings us to function number 2, expressing those deep, overwhelming personal feelings.
To really get this, we've got to talk about the Norwegian artist Edvard Munch. I mean, look at his life. It was just this relentless wave of tragedy. He lost his mom when he was 5, his favorite sister when he was 14, his dad died, another sister had a complete breakdown. All of this just planted this deep, deep anxiety in him that would follow him his entire life.
And he took all of that pain, all of that despair, and he channeled it into this, one of the most famous images in the entire world. The scream isn't a picture of a place, it's a picture of a feeling. He said it was like he felt an infinite scream passing through nature.
And this is the emotional function of art, right here. It's like a release valve, both for the artist and for us. By taking these huge, scary feelings like anxiety and fear and giving them a physical form, art gives us a way to process them. It's a kind of catharsis.
See, artists like Munch, the expressionists, they weren't trying to paint reality. Who cares about reality? They twisted it with those swirling lines and that blood-red sky to make an emotion visible. And by doing that, Munch took his very private pain and turned it into this universal symbol of anxiety that pretty much all of us can recognize. All right, so art can show us the inner world of one person, but it can also pull the camera way, way back and show us the state of our entire society. It can act like a giant mirror, forcing us to look at stuff we would much rather ignore.
There's this photographer, Chris Jordan, who says we are living in a state of cultural anesthesia. Basically, the scale of our modern problems, like mass consumption, is just so huge that the numbers don't mean anything anymore. We've gotten numb.
Let me give you an example. 40 million. What does that number even mean to you? It's the number of paper cups used in the US for hot drinks every single day. It's so big our brains just can't compute it. It's just an abstract number. And this is where Chris Jordan's genius comes in. He takes these impossible-to-imagine statistics and he makes them visible. From a distance, his art looks like some beautiful abstract design, but then you walk closer and you realize it's made of millions of tiny pictures. In this case, 40 million paper cups.
He forces us to feel the weight of that abstract number, and that's the social function of art.
But art doesn't just hold up a mirror. Sometimes it gets right in society's face and picks a fight. It actively attacks the things we consider sacred.
And we're back to our friend Marcel Duchamp. This time in 1919, he goes after the biggest masterpiece of all, the Mona Lisa. He takes a cheap postcard of the painting and draws a mustache and a goatee on her. Is it just vandalism, a silly joke, or is there something more going on?
Well, you probably guessed it. The point wasn't to make fun of Leonardo da Vinci. It was to attack the idea of the masterpiece itself, this blind worship of a cultural icon. The Dadaists were asking, how can a society treat a painting like it's sacred while the world is literally burning? And this is art's powerful moral function. It can use humor and satire to expose hypocrisy and make us question what we truly value.
So we've got aesthetic, emotional, social, moral. But the thing is, these aren't separate little boxes. They all blend and weave together, sometimes in a single piece of art. And it all proves that art isn't just some luxury item. It is a vital, necessary human act.
So let's just pull this all together. With Fountain, Duchamp completely redefined the aesthetic, showing us that beauty can be an idea. With The Scream, Munch showed us the raw power of the emotional function, turning his own pain into something we can all feel. Chris Jordan's work is a masterclass in the social function, making an invisible crisis impossible to ignore. And with just a simple mustache, Duchamp activated the moral function, turning a joke into a deadly serious question about our values.
So what is art for? It's for all of it. It can be beautiful, it can be emotional, it can be social, it can be moral, it can comfort us, and it can provoke us. It's both a mirror that shows us who we are and a hammer to help shape who we want to be. So the next time you see a piece of art, try this. Don't just ask yourself, do I like it? Ask a much more interesting question. What is this art doing? The answer might just change the way you see everything.